I'm not going to bury the lead today. Let's start right off with a little bit of a brain, you know, storming session I had with myself earlier. And I know that commonly when I have these new ideas, I throw them out to Larry Goldberg first, but let me test it on you. You can let me know in the comments below whether I'm completely right, completely wrong, somewhere in the middle. And then I'll decide whether I might talk to Larry about it on Monday night. So let's go ahead here. All right. Reasons that auto margins will rise substantially in 2025. Not just a little bit, but a lot. I'm saying, yeah, we'll probably get back to that 25%, 26% level again, maybe even in the first quarter, and we'll be headed that way in the fourth quarter. What do you think about all that? Crazy idea, right? Okay, let's talk about 8 reasons why this is going to happen. Number one, the FSD take rate is going to be much higher. That will result in a huge increase in profit per vehicle. So these will be people that are be much more likely. They're going to actually go to the they're going to go online and make their purchase based on the fact of having FSD because they're going to see what happens on 1010. Their friends are going to take them out on a ride in their car and they're going to be amazed. And they're not going to be just buying an electric car now. They're going to be buying a car that will have a chauffeur built in for an extra, at this point, I think is it 8,000 at this point? Okay. So number two, so that's huge. I mean, that'd be a big. If the take rate just goes up a little bit, if it goes up 10% or 5% from what it is now, it'll be a very big impact on the margins. Number two, demand for all Tesla vehicles will be back to 2022 levels with some modest price increases and probably no incentives. So what we're going to have here is that FSD and the robotaxi opportunity, et cetera, by first quarter, almost certainly, maybe after the 10th, but as we get closer and closer to the end of the year, as we get into the first quarter, we're going to see an increase in the demand that's so great that it will be completely obliterating all of the supply that's available. And this will drive up the price and eliminate the need for the incentives. And so you'll have another 2 or 3 points right there. Just in that alone will be 2, 3, 4 points. Number three, the IRA income. That's going to be, I don't care about the 7,500 that goes on the cars. What I'm caring about is the amount that goes into the batteries and the battery packs. And as the 4680 becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and as they start rolling out those CATL batteries in Reno, those are all going to start impacting in terms of the cost of the battery. Not just the cost of the battery going down as they get better and better at it, but rather the $45 per kilowatt hour, per kilowatt hour that you get back from the government. All right, and it's a big number, okay? It's going to really be huge. As I've mentioned, it might be as much as $1 billion a quarter starting in 2025. So then we've got the Cybertruck being fully ramped, will result in excellent margins. That has been a drag on margins. Maybe it's been, they said it'll be getting into positive territory, maybe this month, maybe next month. Somewhere around now, we're going to get to where it's a positive margin. And then by the end of the year, we should be getting to where it's probably 25% like it should be, okay? Maybe the end of this year, maybe the beginning of next year, but you'll have that popping in there. Number 5, the Model 3 will be fully ramped. That's already true now. So that's already going to be starting to impact margins, and that'll continue to impact margins in the first quarter compared to the first quarter last year. Number 6, normal reductions in overall cost of goods due to ongoing improvements. So they're always getting to be a little faster, a little better, fixing this, et cetera, et cetera. The longer you do it, the better you get across the board. Number 7, the wider use of the 4680, the dry cathode, and the vertical input of refined lithium from Texas. Now, this is all going to happen slowly over the year, but maybe it'll be 1% in the first on the battery cost, or 2% on the battery cost in the first quarter, and then another 2 or 3% on the battery cost in the second quarter, et cetera. So this will be adding to what we talked about up above with regard to the IRA. And then number 8, if the interest rate deals are still in place, they might be, then lower interest rates will dramatically reduce that cost. Now, it's not all positive. There's going to be at least three negative drags on the margins. Number one will be the ramp of Juniper. So we're assuming Juniper comes out first quarter. So Juniper, at least for maybe the first half of the year, will be a drag, or at least not, maybe it'll be a negative, but it might be just positive, but not as much, not 25 or 23, 22. Now, again, maybe they can raise the price because now you've got the number one, most exciting, the greatest car in the world in terms of sales. You've improved it. You've made it incredible because we know what the changes are going to be, at least the minimum changes, and those are good enough. Adding any additional ones will just be that much better. Well, maybe you can raise the price to where this won't be that much of an impact. Number two would be the ramp of the Model 2.5. So this is the $25,000, $30,000, whatever it's going to be, vehicle, hatchback, whatever it's going to be. I don't know what it's going to be, but we're going to find out maybe on 10/10, or maybe it will be the first quarter. But this will definitely be in a ramp. And, there will be, again, the first half, it will be a drag. And then number three would be the ramp of the CyberCab. Now, is my understanding, we may learn more on 10/10, that the CyberCab doesn't start production until the middle of the year, or maybe even the third quarter. So the first half of the year, this will not be impacting. But as you get into the second half of the year, when some of those other ramps are starting to get figured out and are getting better, then you'll start seeing the CyberCab be a drag on profits a little bit. All in all, though, when you add all this together, I'm saying, yeah, I think we get back. Does it happen in first quarter? Does it happen in second quarter? Maybe we're at 20% or 18% in the fourth quarter. Maybe we're at 20 in the first quarter. Maybe the second quarter is back to 25. I don't know exactly. It's really hard to judge, as you can imagine, from these 8 different things. But just the FSD, the full self-driving aspect, is going to be a huge impact on this. All right. Motor Trend, which somehow fails to be able to understand the quality of things, as proved by the fact that they called the Ford F-150 the truck of the year. Managed, however, to find a place, even if it was only number 2 on their list, among their 6 best value new EVs going into 2025. And they said that the Model 3 would be the second best value going into 2025. They gave the top spot to the Hyundai Ioniq 6. Well, okay, the Ioniq 6 is apparently a good car, but compared to the Model 3, okay, if you say so. And where did the Model Y come in and all that? Anyway, Elon, he did a meme earlier today where he said that that was actually yesterday, this meme. He says, Mark Cuban is proof that morons can become billionaires. Now you can imagine, now, these guys have been going back and forth at each other all year, maybe longer. They're on absolute opposite ends of the political spectrum right now. But I got to tell you, Mark Cuban has been saying things that are so ridiculously wrong. I mean, people are mocking him because they're so crazy what he's saying. Anyway, I think that's why Elon made the meme. But he got a lot of pushback for calling him a moron. And so Elon fixed the meme today. Now the meme reads, it scratches out Mark Cuban's name and puts in, I am proof that morons can become billionaires. So that's a pretty good change. All right. He further noted, however, that a real weakness is wanting to be liked. I have this weakness. And he does not have that weakness, he says. Elon Musk also said that criminals vote overwhelmingly for the Democratic Party because it's a soft on crime party. And therefore, the obvious incentive there's an incentive for the Democratic Party to maximize the number of criminals who can vote. The Dems are also always pushing to allow all felons to vote in federal elections because they know it helps them win. This is a fact, not conjecture, he says. But it is a fact, and it's really a sad fact. You'd think that the Democrats would feel the same as everybody else, that you want people who have, anyway, never mind. All right. Let me bring you up to date on where people are with regard to the numbers that come out Wednesday. Right now, we've got the street at 461,000. We've got James Catt. He says he's trending towards 475, but he's waiting for a couple more things before he makes a final decision. Troy Teslike is at 465. AJ is at 486.6. And Larry says that he's at 476, but he reserves the right to change it on Monday night. All right, we'll see what happens with all of that. But so that gives us a range of 461 to 486. That's a pretty good range. All right, Sawyer Merritt says, construction of Tesla's upcoming Shanghai megapack factory is now 60% complete, just 4 months after the construction started. That is a new record. Construction was 45% complete 1 week ago, and initial capacity, 10,000 units per year, or 40 gigawatt hours. New factory covers an area of 200,000 square meters. And the factory aims to export megapacks to overseas markets, including the Asia-Pacific region, to support the global green future. But it also, of course, it's not just to go to overseas markets, but also China domestic. This is, by the way, Randy Kirk. Like and subscribe, hit notify. Tomorrow morning, I'm only going to do 2 shows, okay? I'm going to do a morning show, and I think that's going to be your questions and comments from the last couple of weeks. Picking out the best ones and throwing them out there and see what you guys think. I think that's what I'll do in the morning. And then in the afternoon, it'll be the normal Monday morning show. And in that one, of course, we talk about what is going to be coming up next week. And it's going to be a good one. All the labor numbers, but there's lots more besides that. Tremendous week coming up, not to mention Tesla's numbers on Wednesday. So China numbers on Tuesday and the final quarter numbers on Wednesday. Barron's. Oh, but it's time. Patreon. Remember Patreon? Oh, okay. Barron says we do not expect a recession in the next 12 months, but the problem is now that that's the consensus view, says Sebastian Page, Chief Investment Officer at T. Rowe Price. The market is pricing in a soft landing, if not even maybe something better. And it says, is it ever? The S&P 500 is now trading at 21 times earnings estimates for 2025. That's above its 5-year average of forward price earnings ratios of 19. That's the average is 19. It's already sitting at 21. And it's inching closer to its high of 23 when everybody agrees it's nuts. Okay? Greater expectations on Wall Street may prove to be the biggest hurdle investors must overcome. Traders are now pricing in nearly 50-50 odds of another half-point cut at the Fed's November 7 meeting. Page notes that it would be unusual for the Fed to cut so aggressively outside of an imminent or present recession, while Weninger says that he sees no crisis in the immediate future. So let me remind everybody again, I am a huge, huge believer that this is being impacted at least partially by demographics, okay, by folks getting older, by the baby boomers having all the money, and baby boomers don't spend or invest the same way that people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s do. And so when you had the bulk of the earnings and the bulk of wealth in that baby boomer crowd in their 40s and 50s, they were spending it differently than they're spending it now. And I think that's impacting everything. I mean, to the point where last week, I forget the exact number. I want to say over 40% of homeowners now have their mortgage paid off. Well, you don't have that. And it might have been higher than that, but whatever it was up dramatically from 10 years ago. So, things are changing because of demographics. We got to take that into consideration. Okay, the American truck, this is me, the only one that reports this. It's that Market Watch doesn't even put on their watch list. But my banker that I worked with for over 25 years, 26 years, whatever it was, my banker said that his number one thing was truck tonnage. So I report truck tonnage because I think it's a canary in the coal mine. This is going to be a surprising one. Okay, this is going to be a shock. American Trucking Association advanced seasonally adjusted for-hire truck tonnage grew 1.8% in August, after rising 0.4% in July. In August, the index was 115.8, with 2015 being 100, compared with 113.8 in July. August tonnage levels rose to the highest level since February of 2023, said ATA Chief Economist Bob Costello. Now, you remember in 2022 and 2023, they couldn't get enough trucks. They couldn't get enough truck drivers. There was just absolutely amazing amounts of activity, and they all thought, they believed it would never end. So people were buying trucks. The truck industry, the manufacturers were going crazy trying to supply enough trucks. Well, it ended. Of course it did. Anyway, not only does the latest robust gain show freight levels are coming off the bottom, but so does the sequential pattern over the last 8 months. Starting earlier this year, every time tonnage falls, it is higher. It falls to a lower high than the previous low. For me, this month-to-month pattern is more important than looking at the year-over-year percentage changes, since we are at an inflection point in the freight market. He says July's increase was revised up from the August 20 press release. Compared with August 2023, the index increased 0.7%, just the second year-over-year gain in the last 18 months. Last time was in May of 2024, when you remember we had that kind of bump where the economy got kind of and we even saw inflation jump up a bit. So anyway, does this truck tonnage number tell us that maybe things are starting to get better, even as Boeing and maybe a dock strike could kill it all? The combination of those two would not quite be black swan, but when you add that together with wars all over the place, presidential election and everything else, it doesn't take much, and being stretched as far as we are in the market, it's not going to take much to trip the switch and have my 10, 20, 30% drop that I've been talking about for so long. Okay, I'm getting really close to being right on my 265, only 5 points away. So I might, yes, I've been missing on my pullback. We had a small pullback, and then it didn't continue. So I still believe we're due a pullback. All right. Earlier today, 2 videos that you want to go watch. One from Brian White, and no, I'm sorry, that's not true. One from Brian Wang, one from Cern Basher. Nobody watched them. Terrible, horrible numbers. They were both really, really good. I'll put them both up, one here, one there. Go back and take a look at those. They're really good stuff. I hate to see you missing them. So that's all I got for you right now. We'll see. Probably your comments is going to be what I do next. We'll see that in the morning. It's been great talking to you.